Hi everyone, kumusta? It's Tuesday night and it's been a long time. I think 3 days yata nandito tayo nagkita. I was so busy. Last time during your webinar on Saturday, I was stuck in traffic. So ito yung mga typical na mga problems natin ngayon no, but I think it's a good sign din siguro na there's like siguro may bad and disadvantage. May disadvantage, may advantages. Itong mga pagba-back to normal natin. But technically, ang sabi ko nga sa isang kaibigan ko, nag-fusion yung mga dilubyo, no? Ang dami nangyayari ngayon, mga pandemic, mga typhoon, baha. But like what I've said before, it's a good thing that I'm seeing you right now in flesh. Kapag naka-turn on kayo ng video, I'll be happier kung kaya ng bandwidth nyo para makita natin yung mga facial expressions ninyo, no? And would be also good for interactions ng mga with our speaker tonight. Ngayon, this learning session is going to be about how to spot fake news. And as founder of Break the Fake Movement, ang dami talagang nagtatanong sa akin, why or how did I start Break the Fake Movement? Siguro skip natin yung question of how, right? Siguro I would just drop pieces na I initially started Break the Fake Movement when I was so annoyed, when I was so pissed off with the idea of fake news. I just don't like it. Um, So personally, ganun yung bubog ko. And a lot of media companies quoted me for saying that. So ABS-CBN quoted me. They quoted me as saying na I was so pissed off with fake news. So they didn't care about the other things that I said. They just quoted me that. So, and then, Break the Fake was able to actually grow. We were able to organize a lot of events, not just in the Philippines, but also in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Malaysia. We were able to get grants and awards. So now Media Civics Lab is a great program because it's open for everybody, especially not just for the SK youth, but also for the Philippine youth in general. And next year, the program is going to be focused on SK leaders. So that's also a good thing. Now, the topic for tonight is all about how to spot fake news because it's a very basic core session of Break the Fake. And we have partnerships with different organizations. We have ABS-CBN, we have GMA News, who's been bringing in a lot of lectures for us for the past years, especially with Audrey Domasian also and other speakers from GMA. But for tonight, we'll actually be having a very special speaker as well to shed us some light on how to spot fake news. Now, to give you guys a context, fake news is something that shouldn't be dismissed because it's now called a pandemic in the modern century. Actually, as a matter of fact, we are facing disinformation pandemic right now. Kasi sabi nga nila, when we're entering the pandemic, there was also a rise or proliferation of fake news. So that's exactly what's going to be taught to us by our speaker tonight. He's going to give us tips and life hacks to how to identify fake news spot on, di ba? So, who is our speaker for tonight? The speaker for tonight is JK Carandang. He is one of the social media producers of GMA News. Aside from monitoring the latest news developments, he also contributes sports stories for GMA News Online and is currently taking his Master of Arts in Communication in the La Salle University. So, without further ado, let's all welcome JK from GMA.
Hello.
Yes, JK, we can hear you.
I'll just share my screen for the presentation. Okay. Can you see it? Okay. So, like sinabi ni Kat kanina, medyo malawak na yung nangyayari sa fake news. Kumakalat na siya. But then, misinformation and disinformation is not really new in the media. Bale, matagal lang may gumagamit ng media para magpakalat ng lies and propaganda para mag-push ng isang layunin. Pero the recent rise ng pagkalat ng fake news is because yung social media kasi mas madali na siyang makalapit sa mga tao, and yun, yung mga tao mas may access na agad at mas mabilis yung flow ng information. So pwedeng makalito-lito yung fake news and mas mabilis yung pagkalat ng misinformation and disinformation. So, ano ba muna yung fake news? Ay, sorry, balik lang ako sa kanina. Consider siyang threat kasi like kanina, for example, dito sa context natin ng COVID-19 pandemic, uh, nagiging threat siya kasi nalilito yung mga tao and hindi nila alam kung sino yung pagkakatiwalaan nila sa kung anong totoo at hindi. So, nung una, parang may mga nagdi-dismiss na, itong COVID-19 halimbawa, hindi yan, sipon lang yan, o parang minimal na sakit lang yan. Pero apparently, and may scientific evidence naman na, siya, threatening yung sakit, at kumakalat talaga siya. So, pag kumalat yung mga maling info, at nawawala sa flow of information yung totoo, medyo, nagiging delikado na siya in general for the overall population. Kaya siya considered na threat. Also, I consider fake news as a threat kasi lalong lumalawak yung divide ng mga tao, lalo na pag hindi nila nalalaman kung ano yung totoo at hindi. So, ano ba muna yung fake news? According to Cambridge Dictionary, false stories that appear to be news. So, news, mumukha siyang news na spread on the internet or using other media. So, hindi lang siya sa internet. Meron din siya sa ibang platforms. It's just that internet yung mas madaling platform para kumalat yung fake news. Kaya yun yung mas madalas na ginagamit ng mga nagpapakalat. Usually created to influence political views or as a joke. Minsan may mga nagpapakalat ng jokes, pero mas madalas political yung fake news kasi parang siya yung stand mo on a certain issue, pwede madaling mas sway. So, lalo na kung hindi ka firm sa beliefs mo. So, yun yung madalas na ginagamit na or tinitira ng fake news. According naman sa PolitiFact, when they fact-check fake news, they are calling out fabricated content. So, fabricated, ginawa talaga siya and intentional yung paggawa sa kanya na intentional din na pinagmumukha siyang news para mas madaling maniwala yung mga tao. So, yun yung definition ng fake news at least Cambridge Dictionary and politifact.com. So, for example, this one, I think September, merong nagpakalat na merong bonus yung ibinibigay yung SSS na 50,000 para sa 50,000 bonus para sa lahat ng member ng SSS. Hindi naman ni Pangulong Duterte. I think this is part of the pinapakalat nila na social amelioration. Pero, this is considered fake kasi when you check on the official page of the Philippine SSS, may advisory sila na hindi totoo yung sinasabi ng kumalat na screenshot kanina. So, yung mga ganung bagay, yung mga ganung istorya, madali siyang kumalat kasi isipin mo 50,000 tapos makukuha mo din siya agad. Fake siya talaga sa mga tao pero dapat maging careful tayo usually sa mga sinishare natin, lalo na with our news feeds now. Kasi yung mga nakakakita sa mga newsfeed natin, mga kakilala natin, kaibigan natin, mga pamilya natin. So, dapat tayo mismo, iwasan natin mag-share ng misinformation, disinformation. Mamaya, ipapakita ko din kung ano yung ibang techniques kung paano makikita yung madaling ma-spot yung fake news. Another example, meron usually ginagamit na screenshots ng mga comments, messenger na nagsasabi ng kunwari parang conspiracy. Like for example, this one, may kumalat ng start ng pandemic na kinukuha daw or nire-raid yung mga PPE ng isang hospital para ipangalan sa isang politiko na yun, para gamitin daw yung pangalan ng politiko. Pero nung chinek sa other sources and nung naglabas naman ng advisory yung hospital mismo, fake siya, hindi siya totoong nangyayari. So, one technique is to check yung mga official sources, lalo na pag mga ganito, and sa mga news outlets, i-check kung totoo ba or hindi yung kumakalat na mga balita or screenshot. Yung screenshot kasi and comment, madali rin siya kumalat kasi personal interaction siya ng mga tao. Parang siyang chismis na pag sinabi mo sa iba, mas madali siyang paniwalaan, lalo na if wala ka mismo on the ground or dun sa mismong lugar kung saan nangyari yun. So, pwedeng yun yung ipakalat, ipakalat na pwede yun yung ipakalat na fake news. So what can we do? So dito yung papasok na yung ano yung mga pwede natin gawin in terms of para may iwasan yung fake news and pagkalat din ito. And para madali din natin malaman kung ano yung fake news sa hindi. Look closely at the URL. So as you can see sa slides, merong gmatv.com, tvbbc.com, Al Jazeera TV, TVCNN, and The Guardian na number 1. Kung hindi ka familiar dun sa website, madali mo siyang, and naririnig lang usually yung mga brands or yung mga news source na nakalagay. Pwede siyang papasa siya na na mukhang totoo. Like for example, yung website ng GMA News Online, GMA News TV. Pero pag titingnan mo dito, gmatv.com, pwede rin siya talagang pagkamalan na totoo. Pero you should observe and look closely na yung official websites nila, gmanews.tv, bbc.com, aljazeera.com, cnn.com, and theguardian.com. So, pwede natin i-check online kung ano yung mga totoong website ng mga media orgs na pina-follow natin para hindi tayo mabiktima ng fake news. Kasi, tricky yung mga ganitong types ng URL na mukhang mini-mirror yung sa official site. So, be careful pag titingnan natin yung mga ganyan source of info. Yeah, so be skeptical. Watch out for, usually, yung fake news yung una, headlines in all caps. I think kami an example. Puro naka-all caps yung headline nila, which is hindi naman usually ginagawa yung sa normal or sa media orgs. Hindi ino-all caps yung mga storya. And hindi rin gumagamit ng exclamation points. May tendency yung ibang news articles na fake news na as in madami talaga exclamation points na hindi naman ginagamit yun. Body formatted graphics. Pangit din talaga yung nagiging graphics. Low quality yung graphics na hindi low quality yung graphics, kunwari merong blurred or merong mga maling spelling. So be careful. Pwede yung i-check out. And also, unbelievable quotes, especially featuring world leaders or personalities. Merong mga kumalat recently. If familiar kayo sa Brooklyn Nine-Nine, merong isang actress doon na kinote na supporting a world leader pero hindi pala totoo. So, dininay niya din yun. So, be careful sa mga ganong factors. Also, noong mga 2016 hanggang 2018 to 2019, ang dinidil usually namin in combating fake news ay fake website. So, like yung kanina, sinabi ko, merong mga fake URL. Pero ang nangyayari ngayon, dun sa mga graphics, like kung makikita nyo sa mga newsfeed na, merong mga graphics na pinagmumukhang sinabi ng isang personality yung quote na yun. So yun na yung mahirap kalaban. Kasi yung Facebook, halimbawa, binabana nila yung mga domain or websites ng fake news. So, ang pinapakalat ngayon usually ay yung mga graphics or yung mga graphics or posters na may sinasabi ng kung ano-ano. Pero be careful na lang din doon kasi yung graphics kasi mas madali siya kumalat. So as much as possible, kung may makita tayong ganun, i-report na din natin as fake news or pag na rin natin i-share. Or kung may kakilala man tayo na mag-share, pagsabihan na lang din natin na this is not true. For example, this one. Ito yung example ng mga paggamit ng fact cards or posters para mapagpakalat ng fake news. So, yung Philippine News Agency may create na graphic tungkol sa DSWD at ROTC working together for the distribution of goods noong April 2020. And then, as you can see, dun sa original part, malinaw naman siya eh. Malinaw, maayos yung code. And dun sa fake, distorted yung image, blurred talaga siya. And also, low quality yung graphics. And copy-paste lang yung background. Tapos, hindi pa maayos yung pagkakakrop ng ibang style. So, meron visually, yun yung mga palatandaan para ma-identify kung fake news or hindi ang isang poster. And then, ito pa isang example. May ginawa kami dati na quote card tungkol kay Vito Lenny sa isa niyang quote. Pero, meron ding lumabas na inalter ng ibang tao yung laman ng quote. So, ginaya talaga pati yung logo, pati yung photo, pati hindi na binago masyado dun sa description sa baba ng quote. Pero as you can see, binago yung laman ng quote. Also, take note, pag may mga maling spelling or yung mga hindi maayos yung formatting ng text, possible, ano na siya kagad, hint siya na fake news siya. So, ayan. Yun yung mga examples ng pinapakalat ng fake news ng mga tao. And in terms of politics, meron isang study na nagsasabi na hindi lang siya from one side of political party nang gagaling yung fake news or misinformation. Bale, according din sa study na yun, both camps may mga farming na nagpapakalat ng fake news. So, be careful din. Next. So, as sinabi ko kanina, check the URL. But also, kung titingnan mo yung isang website, investigate the source and watch out for unusual formatting. So, ito yung example ng fake na GMA news site. I think nireport na namin ito dun sa kung sino man yung naging owner or nung domain. Na-report na siya. Mukha siyang GMA news na website kasi may gmanews.tv na logo, then meron din mga news, and meron din recent posts part. And as you can see, stats, meron pang mga sections. Pero, hindi ito yung totoong website namin. So, pag titingnan mo yung totoong gmanews.tv, so gmanews online, ganito siya tingnan. So, screenshot ito from kanina. Malayong-malayo siya. Kahawig siya, and halatang ginaya yung unang part ng example. Pero ito yung totoo naming site. Mas maayos siya. Okay. So, pwede naman agad ma-search kung totoo or hindi yung isang website na yun. Next, also, if unfamiliar yung isang website, if ngayon nyo lang narinig or hindi kayo familiar talaga din sa isang website, pwede nyo i-check sa About Us section. So, yung About Us section, nandito kami, sino yung mga nag-handle ng website. Kasi, we publish our names on the site because for accountability, na parang, kilala nyo kami. So, makikilala nyo yung mga taong gaya. Hindi kami nagtatago sa pinapublish namin. Unlike kasi sa mga fake news sites, minsan hindi nila nilalabas yung mga pangalan nila kasi paano pag may isusumbong or what, hindi madaling makalusot yung mga yun. At least dito, meron kaming pinanindigan namin yung mga pinapublish namin dito. Kaya nilalagay din namin yung name namin. Also, check the evidence. Merong ito sa COVID-19 kung sinasabi na si Miss Jessica Soho daw yung nasa likod ng bote. But if you will check the evidence, usually posted yan sa mga official pages ng mga media orgs. Meron usually statements na lumalabas na hindi naman totoo yung hindi siya, yung sa example ko hindi siya yung nasa likod, hindi siya yung nasa audio mo. And to make sure na mag-follow lang tayo doon sa mga trusted news sites natin. And so yun, check the evidence. Usually, may mga statements naman ang nilalabas yung video or pag may kumakalat na viral na mukhang fake news. So, yeah. Next, look at other reports. So, pag hindi pa tayo sure kung dun sa formatting, sa fishwire, pwede natin i-check din yung laman ng isang report sa iba pang counter-check natin with other websites. If Google search will reveal na, like for example, yung kanina, yung hospital rate na ginawa na nangaagaw daw ng PPE. Pag counter-check siya sa Google search, meron agad lalabas na na news sites na may kaparehong na dinideny din yung nangyaring event. So, yun yung mas isa pang way to thoroughly verify yung info na nakikita natin is to check other websites. Usually, magkakapareho talaga yan ng, lalo na pag hard news, usually magkakapareho yan ng nakikerry na info. So, it's okay. It's recommended to counter-check talaga din with other news sites. Next, inspect the posting date. Usually, kumakalat to pag walang pasok announcement. And for example, meron nilalagay na, di ba sa Facebook, merong memories or parang sinishare yung mga nangyari the past year, the past 2 years, ganyan. So minsan, pag sinare natin yung isang news story, halimbawa ito, walang pasok. Pag sinare natin, a year after, pwede ulit siya lumabas. And then, pag sinare siya without the context or pag without na hindi mo kagad titingnan yung date ng posting, madaming pwedeng maging biktima ng nung ganitong kind ng misinformation. So for example, this one. Widely reshared kung walang pasok graphics na to noong 2017, same date, July 4. Pero apparently, pag titingnan mo maigi, July 4, 2016 yung posting date niya. So, ayun, be careful din sa mga ganun. And if share natin to, huwag na natin i-share a year after ulit kasi pati tayo magiging source ng misinformation para sa ibang tao. So, ayun, always check lang yung mga ganitong date. Kasi yung publishing date din, madaming nabibiktima doon in terms of fake news. So, always check lang. And last, ito yung always lagi namin sinasabi. Thank you for your click. And ito yung mga major points na para malaman kung alin yung totoo at hindi in terms of news. Look closely at the URL. Be skeptical of headlines. Investigate the source. Watch for unusual formatting. Check the evidence. Look at other reports. And inspect the posting date. Also, dagdag ko lang, yung social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, meron silang, if you can see yung blue checks minsan dun sa mga sabi ng pangalan ng page, it means verified sila. So, yun yung isang way para malaman din agad kung totoo or hindi yung isang balita. Yung isang balita. So, yun yung ilang ways para malaman kung ano yung fake news or hindi.
Ayun. JK.
Yes.
You done with the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Sige, let's open. Ang bilis ni JK. Parang hindi ko kinaya.
Meron po ba kayong questions para mas madali ko siyang ma-explain? Or mas thoroughly ko siyang ma-explain?
I mean, it's the fastest presentation we've ever had. I think we usually have the longer presentation, but it's okay. I mean, I think usually on topics like this, we compensate with more questions to entertain whatever it is that our participants are itching to answer. So before we head on to that, and while waiting for our participants to launch their questions, type in here in the comment box section here in the chat your questions, guys. I have one question to raise to JK. What's the most memorable COVID-related disinformation or fake news that you have seen in the past few months of the pandemic?
COVID-related? Madaming alam niyo yung may time na sinabi yung nasagin yung isa sa mga parang pampaiwas sa COVID o parang hindi mahal. I think kumalat siya from isang doktor or nagsasabi na doktor siya na sinasabi na hindi ito yung way para makaiwas sa COVID-19. Hindi ko lang maalala kung ano yung specific na but I think meron siyang Facebook post about it. Na dumating sa point na our government official or may isang official ng government na nagsabi na, yeah, totoo yung sinasabi ng doctor na yun, which is not true. Kasi wala namang scientific study din na saging talaga yung isa sa makakapagpaiwas for COVID-19. So, ang ano lang, it's just, while mukha siyang totoo kasi health-related to saging naman, prutas naman yun. So, magiging healthy naman tayo pag kinain yun. Pero wala tayong study na yun talaga yung makakapag-combat sa COVID. So, yun yung isa sa mga memorable na naging na fake news or kind of misinformation and disinformation for me. Also, meron ding sinabi kahit yun na sa US na ito na ito, nag-Trump na, ay sorry, or kahit ibang world leaders din na nagsasabi na iba't ibang ways para makiiwas sa COVID-19 like langis or ano tayo bleach. Wala siyang scientific study eh. So, be careful lang din sa mga ganun. It's always best na if in terms of health-related news or information, we better double-check with our yung mga kilala natin doctors and also yung health experts talaga.
Yeah. Ako, while waiting for questions, no, I'm pretty sure our participants will have questions. Si Rahim, I think nagtatype pa yan. Just to share my insights also na the most memorable, I could think of 3 most memorable instances. Kasi ang Break the Fake kasi, nag-launch kami ng spreadsheet that time when during nakasagsagan ng pandemic, nag-launch kami ng spreadsheet-based na fact-checker. So ito yung tatlong pinaka na nakita ko na nasagap namin na fake news. Ako personally nakita ko yung sa case ng Iran na 44 persons died of bootleg alcohol, drinking bootleg alcohol because they thought kasi ito yung pinapalaganap na news doon. Itong bootleg alcohol can cure COVID. Okay? So people were drinking COVID alcohol and then they died. So 44 of them died. But only 19 people in that particular town in Iran died because of COVID. So mas marami yung namatay sa fake news kaysa sa COVID. And that proves na fake news is lethal. So I couldn't forget that. Second experience is nung there was ito yung mga cases ng tricycle drivers who are losing their jobs. And there was a fake news spreading in SMS and in messenger chats saying na eto daw mga tricycle drivers who lost their jobs are planning to loot pure gold. So, meron pa silang supporting video dito. At saka yung video na yun is actually a recycled video of an old looting that happened in Ecuador. Pero pinoportray nila na nangyari to sa Manila and it's already happening. The third case na na-remember ko that's really memorable is etong video of a lot of body bags sa isang body bags and may someone na navigate sa video and it was moving around rooms. They were saying in messenger groups na this case is happening in the Philippines sa hospital sa Mandaluyong. Tapos it's not true, it's true because the government is hiding the fact that ang daming namamatay ng COVID but they're falsifying the statistics. But the truth is that video happened in New York. It's nowhere close to the Philippines. And they were trying to instill public fear. Those are, I think, a lot of people were asking me that, especially the people from the embassy, kung ano yung pinaka-naalala ko ng mga cases na nireport sa amin. So, let's ask from our participants, let's get some insights kasi walang nagto-throw ng questions. Tanungin natin sila kung ano yung natutunan nila, pinaka-natutunan. Ayun, may question tayo, pero magtanong tayo sa mga hindi masyadong nagsasalita. No? Can we have Emmanuel? Can you share to us kung ano yung pinaka-naalala mo sa shinare ni JK na ultimate tips on how to spot fake news? Ano yung pinaka-tumatak sa'yo?
Hi, sir. Good evening po. Actually, sir, isa sa common pero very remarkable dun, sir, yung pag-observe sa mga features ng isang article, particularly yung website, yung logo. Kasi minsan po, sir, tulad ng mga binanggit, sir, nung mga nakaraang speakers, minsan very deceiving talaga, lalo na kapag yung logo ay nandoon na pero minsan yung website kasi, sir, yung pinaka-URL niya, pag hindi natin, sir, minsan napapansin na iba pala siya. And minsan yun yung nagiging way nung mga hindi lang siya basta, sir, nagiging features ng fake news, minsan nagiging way din siya para makapag-scam or makakuha ng personal information yung mga gumagawa ng fake news. Then another one, sir, is yung pagdo-double check or yung dito, sir, yung pag-a-attest nung article. Kasi minsan, sir, kapag nakakabasa tayo ng mga articles sa isang website, minsan nakala natin totoo kasi may ano naman siya, may dates, meron naman siyang parang may humahawak na company and all. Pero kapag dinoble check siya, pag kinross check siya, sir, sa mga ibang websites, doon natin minsan nalalaman ay meron pala mga may false na information or totally the whole article is fake or wala siyang katotohanan po, sir. Ayun, sir.
Okay, Emmanuel, may question ka ba para kay JK na na specific para sa kanya?
Siguro, sir, kung may question man ako, yun yung paano ba, sir? Sir, ano po ba, may effect po ba, sir, yung kasi meron tayong dalawang klase ng media, sir, yung mainstream tsaka yung mga alternative, sir. Minsan, sir, kapag kumbaga, ano ba yung right term doon, kapag parang pinagtuos yung mga articles from mainstream and alternative, although iba siya ng perspective, sir, pero minsan merong mga contradicting information with that, sir. How do we like comprehend or interpret yung minsan nagkakaibang information from those two na sources of information, sir?
Hindi natin i-discredit yung like sinabi mo kanina, hindi natin i-discredit yung alternative media kasi they're also reporting on what usually the mainstream does not report. Tama, diba? Paano ba natin siya ang masasabi ko siguro, i-check natin kung para kasi usually diba may sites na babangga yung mainstream and yung source ng mainstream and yung source ng alternative. So usually nagkakabangga ang site talaga, opposing sides talaga siya. Good question yun. I think for me, it's all better than to check yung mismo on situation on the ground. Better to check kung ano yung sinasabi ng dalawa. Malalaman natin kung ano yung sinasabi ng mga ng mainstream or yung source ng mainstream at ng alternative. Check natin pareho. And then, ayun, ano kasi siya para siyang more on dun sa sides mismo talaga
Opo, sir. Kasi minsan, sir, iba yung sources nila. Iba yung sources ng dalawang media po, sir.
Yes. Ayun. Ang masasabi ko, hindi ko pa babalikan ko yung answer, yung question mo about it. Pero, ang masasabi ko ay kung ano yung usually na situation on the ground at yung kung ano yung kaya i-counter check lang ng mas maigi. Kasi, ayun, ano siya parang opposing side talaga siya yung, minsan hindi nagpapatalo yung opposing side. So, ayun, better na check na lang din on the ground. Kung kaya naman.
Okay, sir. Salamat po, sir.
Okay. Sige. Mag-pull na tayo ng mga questions from our participants. We have one question from June. But I want June to raise this question himself. Nandito ba si June? Can you unmute yourself, June?
Hi sir, good evening.
Ayun, hello. Kumusta naman dyan? Taga Zamboanga ka, di ba? Tama ba pagkaalala ko?
Sir,
June?
sorry sir, what?
Taga Zamboanga ka ba? Tama ba?
Ay hindi sir, taga-akan po.
Sige, sorry. Ang layo, no? Okay. What's your question for JK?
Okay, so regarding, actually may nakita akong news na some countries are actually attempting or di ko alam kung attempting or nagawa na nila na i-institutionalize yung parang media information literacy sa mga schools nila, more particularly it's sa elementary level. So I was wondering if should considering that this generation and the future generations are digital natives, should media and information literacy, one such as ways in spotting fake news, be institutionalized in our educational systems as early as elementary? So what are its possible pros and cons po? So yun po, na-curious lang po ako.
For me, naniniwala ako sa importance ng media literacy. I think some schools offer na sa senior high at least yung media and information literacy. And then meron din, so may sabi, it's part of the curriculum in senior high. So tama, nag-offer na nun. And I think yung ibang high school nag-offer na rin siya. If by elementary, hindi ko pa masabi kasi paka-overwhelming pa siya sa isang bata kasi usually formational pag elementary, so yun ang isang po. Although ang maganda siguro is unti-unting i-open yung idea or i-open yung importance ng media information sa mga bata, and then sa high school siguro pwede siyang mas palalimin pa yung discussion hanggang college. So, yeah, maganda yung, for me, personally, naniniwala ako maganda yung institutionalized ng media information literacy. May con ba ako nakikita? Sa ngayon, wala pa eh. Kasi it's for the, benefit naman din siya ng mga bata. And I think as a society, lahat tayo media literate. Mas magiging maganda yung discussion ng iba't ibang bagay. So, and magiging mas informed tayo. So, yun yung nakikita kong pro ng MIL.
Okay. Ayun, na-answer ba ni... Okay, na-answer ba yung question mo, June?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Actually, sa I wanted to add kanina yung sa question about what if one media source seems contradicting with the other media entity, and I keep on reiterating this, diba? Now we're talking about private entities with different interests here. So the good thing about media is like what I've said in the past session, self-correcting nga siya. But I think the interest of mainstream media and alternative media groups are different in certain cases. So some mainstream media mas accountable sila to the public, and therefore they're more keen into balancing different interests. And then smaller outlets like independent news outlets, they could be more aggressive with their stances. To a certain extent, they could filter comments. Actually, they would delete comments if it's against their community standards. But again, they're independent bodies, and they're private entities that are not paid by taxpayers' money. That's basically my point. Okay, let's have this question from Paolo. Paolo, one of our most engaged participants. I would really remember this batch. No, Rahim, Paolo, Sharon, Michael, June. I think slowly nalalaman ko na yung mga, nare-remember ko na yung mga names niyo. Paolo, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Pasensya na po, nasa biyahe pa kasi ako pa uwi. Anyway, my question is very just practical or lang. Kasi di ba ang laging argument ng mga nasa social media na mga fake news writer daw or trolls ay bayad. Meron bang facts na magsusupport sa argument na ito na legit talaga sila binabayaran? And also, looking at the deeper perspective lang, kahapon we've discussed nga na with Attorney Mary na parang fake news is ito na yung pag-create ng public fear or commotion. But based on your experience, sir, on this work as a social media, on this job, ano talaga yung pinaka-main reason o ugat ng mga ito na why do they keep writing and dumarami pa talaga sila? Yun lang po.
Okay. I read this study about the networks of networks of architecture of network disinformation. Merong isang study meron talagang nagsasabi na may troll army talaga usually. Nag-exist sila. And usually paid sila to do it. So, and yung study na yon may na-interview sila. I think meron din sa ibang, may naging palabas na rin sa GMA na nag-discuss na, nagpakilala or nagkapag-interview ng isang troll. Because, totoo siya. Why do they apply to become a troll? Financially, kailangan kumita. Isa rin yung sa way na makakakuha ka din ng pera. So, yung iba, yun yung kinukuha. Yun yung kinukuha ang trabaho. Sino yung nag-employ sa kanila? Usually, ang naaalala ko din sa study na yun, merong usual na PR firms, but not all naman. Merong PR firms na parang may first level ng PR firms, tapos eventually kakalat siya sa groups, and then kakalat mo siya sa labas ng group, sa labas ng Facebook group, and then kakalat na siya ng kakalat hanggang yung ibang mga tao na influence na rin yung ganong thinking nung na pinapakalat ng trolls. So, yun. So, totoo yung trolls. And di lang natin siya madidistinguish agad kasi yung usual na accounts nila is parang totoong talaga. Parang totoong Facebook account or totoong Twitter account. Pero, ang usual na basis pag troll ay kung pare-pareho sila ng sinasabi usually sa comment, medyo mag-Twitter na kayo din sa mga sinasabi nila. Like, paulit-ulit na siya across all pages. Yun, troll yun. And then, ano pa yung isang question? Sorry. Yung second part.
I think, sir, na sagot po naman pareho po yung tanong ko kung yung argument nga regarding kung bayad ba talaga sila, and second nga, yung pinaka-main reason nila. You're pointing out that it's more on the financial. But on a follow-up question lang, I know it's the mission and vision of the Break the Fake movement, but talaga, is the Philippines, or the whole world has a hope looking forward to combat this contagious army of trolls or fake news writer?
For me, yes naman. Meron pa rin hope na makombat yun. But it involves, should involve parang buong society na, it's not just among us sa media or sa civic courts. Dapat pati mismo yung social media networks, social media giants like Facebook, Twitter. Dapat sila rin may way din sila or involvement dun sa kung paano makombat yung trolls. And also sa pagkalat ng fake news. I think Facebook, like I said earlier in the discussion, na binabanan nila usually yung ibang websites. And then, in terms of sa Twitter halimbawa, like itong nakaraang elections nila, meron na silang mga reminder dun sa, like for example, before retweeting, itatanong nila, do you want to read the whole article? Kasi usually headlines lang yung nalalagay sa tweet. So, pinapabasa nila para at least alam ng mga tao yung context ng isang report. Also, meron ding lumalabas na parang this tweet or this information is not really verified. So, meron silang mga ganong paalala sa users para maiwasan din na kumalat yung fake information or misinformation.
Yes. Okay. So, thanks, Paolo. No, just to add to that question, actually, number one, I want to tell you, I have a friend who gets paid for being a troll. So, just to answer that question, yes, I've seen humans in flesh. Some of them are my friends before. I haven't totally unfriended them, no, pero I limit my interaction with them kasi I graduated from one of my from this school. So, and then I don't know, for some people it's a business, but the truth is that the formation of troll armies, no, they usually prey on vulnerable people who just usually need money to be able to get by. Those who do not oversee these long-term projection of the future of the country, but rather just, living things on a short-term scale. So, ganun yung pagta-target ng mga people who are gullible to be part of the troll armies. And yes, they follow scripts sometimes, but there are certain cases na talagang legit individual accounts and there's a human being behind each of these accounts that follow the script. They're not necessarily trolls, but they affirm that kind of confirmation, that bias. Because, yun ba, sabi nga natin, confirmation biases are real. Kasi it already it confirms their pre-existing biases. And yeah, there was a second question. I was supposed to answer that, but I forgot the second question. But sige, let's go to the question of Michael Lance. No? How do we detect if a video is a deep fake or not? So it's a bit technical of a question.
I suggest na we should always, hindi ko pa kasi super na-explore yung deepfake videos kasi nga, yeah, like Gab said, super technical siya kasi sobrang minsan hindi mo talaga ma-distinguish yung difference ng sa mouth movement at pag sinama mo siya sa face ng isang public figure. So, mahirap siyang alamin. Pero ang basic na tool ko lagi dito is always check yung YouTube videos na halimbawa ng kung may ganito siyang sinabi or what. And madali siya ma-search kung totoo or hindi. Usually meron ding Google reverse search image. So, for example, pwede ka mag-screenshot ng isang photo and then i-reverse search siya. And then mag-lead siya dun sa totoong source ng info or yung first info or first post about it. So, yun yung isang technique para magawa yun kung at least sa deepfake.
Yes. So tama yung sinabi ni JK. Merong reverse image search. One of the websites that you could actually visit is videntifier.com. Meron ding rev at tineye.com. So yun yung mga nagamit ko for reverse image searching. Video-wise, wala tayong talagang super acknowledged na reverse video searches kasi mas mahirap siya. Pero take note na like yung sinabi ko, di ba, na mga cases of most memorable COVID-related fake news, actually deep fake yun. Tapos, merong cases na nag-deepfake doon. Tapos, yung sa video ng Ecuador, actually, medyo tweak siya para mag-look like nangyari siya during that time of COVID. Pero, na-reverse search siya. And we were able to track back na nangyari to sa Ecuador. Same video, but some basic changes actually, are done. But, di ba, ang mga deepfake nga ngayon na videos, like for example, mga videos ni Obama na nilalagyan siya ng snippets of like him saying something but technically he didn't say that, right? So self-corrective media, before you really believe on something else, really examine kung totoo ba siya. There are formal announcements. Actually, naalala ko na, ang gusto kong sabihin kanina, on the role of media companies, in terms of like regulating regulating information like fake news and all that. One thing I think that it's important for them to really pioneer and champion more roles. And it goes back to diba? Like being gullible to believe on it. For me, marami pang push na pwedeng magawa ang Facebook, on Twitter. And one of that would be also to limit our access to it if you are vulnerable. If you're kids, you're not supposed to be able to like really get to that level of discernment yet in terms of understanding the conversations online. So that's one thing. Limit the access if possible if you are identified as gullible on that particular information and not being able to rationalize. Yun. So we do not have questions. Last call for questions, guys, before we wrap up. So si Rahim mukhang tahimik ngayon si Rahim actually. So are you introspecting ba or I want to have a question. Actually yun, marami na tayong question I have a question, JK. Sa tingin mo ba media companies right now, especially kasi nagwo-work ka sa one of the biggest media companies in the Philippines, do you think the media companies are doing enough in terms of the job that they're supposed to do in educating the public about fake news or kulang?
I think we have ways or nakapaggawa na rin kami ng measures para maiwasan na or matigil na yung pagkalat ng fake news, I think meron kaming shows, then usually meron kaming ginagawang yung mga paalala sa alin yung fake news or hindi. And then also, we do partnerships with other orgs like this one para mas ma-inform palalo yung mga tao on how to spot fake news or hindi. So, other news orgs, I think ginagawa din yun ng iba, but I believe, ano rin siya the people also should be able to distinguish from themselves alin yung totoo sa hindi. So, yun yung isa ko paniniwala.
Okay. We have one question from Rose Ann. Rose Ann, can you unmute yourself and ask this question directly to JK? Okay, parang medyo sira yata yung mic. Ayun, hindi pala. Sira yung mic ni Rose Ann yata. Anyway, sige. She wants to know kung meron bang website wherein they could proceed to spot up if a certain news is fake or not. And so that they can compare and contrast original and fake through its features or headlines through one look and read.
This is parang wala pang super comprehensive na site na makikita mo agad na pag nilagay mo yung fake. Pag nakita mo true. Parang wala pang ganun siyang website. But I know of fact checkers na website. Like for example, Verifies, I think, fact checks certain news titles. And yung mismong news source, pa-fact check din o hindi. And meron pala dito ayun, yun yung mga alam kong at yun yung mga familiar ako na fact-checking website. Meron din ako yung alam yung fact-checking site. I'm checking na din kung meron pa sa ito or hindi. Yeah, yes. Yung sinabi ko niya, Verifies, it's news org siya na nagpa-fact-check ng stories sa Pilipinas.
So, yeah, Rose Ann, we have two orgs that are member of the International Fact-Checking Network dito sa Pilipinas. One is Rappler and second is Verifiles. So, partner ng Break the Fake ang Verifiles. Usually kapag may pinapa-fact-check sa amin, pinapasa na lang namin sa kanila. You can also visit Verifiles website kung meron kayong fake news na nakikita online. You could check the website and compare kung may announcement na ba ang Verifiles for that. If not, then you can also contact them directly. Usually, mga partners namin out of the box, Verifiles, kapag may malaking fake news, talagang gumagawa ng announcements in the social media. Break the Fake kasi is more on events related to fake news and disinformation. Pero pag fact-checking, pumupunta kami sa mga partners namin. Ayun.
Dagdag ko lang sinek ko na ako ano yung iba pang websites na pwede. PolitiFact, so fact-checking website siya. Although I think mas foreign yung approach niya. And also Snopes. So yun yung mga familiar din ako na narinig ko na website to fact-check.
Okay, may comment si Maiko pero not necessarily a question. Based on research, propaganda can also be used as a springboard in identifying fake news. Walton suggests 10 dimensions of this propaganda. Maiko, can you elaborate further on this comment? And if you could turn this into a question, then feel free to do so. Can you unmute yourself?
Hi, good evening. Am I audible?
Okay. Yes, very clear.
Hi, good evening, Sir Justin. This comment is based on a research conducted by my students. Actually, presently, they are conducting media discourse studies. So these are AB English students in a university here in Davao. Based on diligent literature review, they found out that there is actually one good way to identify fake news, and that is by identifying the propaganda first. So according to Walton in 2010, there are ways on how to easily identify fake news through propaganda. For example, identifying the dialogue structure and then checking on the message content and then checking also if the structure is goal-directed or not. And then usually daw, ang fake news merong involvement of social group in the contents of the news. And also, there is this model suggested by Walton which could check on the level of indifference to logical reasoning. So if there is this high level of indifference to logical reasoning, then most likely the news being analyzed is definitely fake news. And then, yun, meron ding one-sided argumentation, and then also the involvement of persuasion dialogue, most especially if there are lines in the news which contain statements which ask the audience to comply with action, parang ganon. And then there is also a unique fashion of justification, and then more on emotive language and persuasive definitions. And then lastly is yung powerful dichotomies present. Usually this is the heuristic aspect of fake news. So yun na po. I'd like to share this one because this is also research-based. A while ago, Sir Justin mentioned about research. This might help also our fellow netizens who might want to check. But this one is quite complicated because you need also to conduct further research on this by delving on the dialogue structures or the message contents. So yan lang po. Thank you.
Tama ka naman, Mike. So, dun sa, may nag-stand out na sa akin kanina dun sa in terms of one-sided argumentation. Yeah, usually sa news kasi in terms of writing it, usually as much as possible lahat ng sides na kailangan makuhanan ng statement or usually as much as possible, sinasama talaga yung sides na yun. Kung walang side, sinasabi naman na kinukuha pa rin yung side ng isa pang involved. So, tama, hindi lang siya one-sided lang na from sa isang person na yung statement. Usually, dapat pag sa totoong news, dalawa at least all sides involved nakukuha. Also, may goal, yes, tama, usually yung mga kumakalat na propaganda. Pero kung meron gustong ipagawa sa mga tao na isang certain kind of action, kasi sa news naman, walang ganung lumalabas sa news. Parang, narration siya of information. So, ayun yung for news. And kung paano ma-distinguish siya sa fake news.
Ayun, nag-ask na ng question si si Rahim. So, before we jump into Rahim's question, maganda yung insight na sinabi ni Maiko actually. At saka I want to reinforce din na I think ideology wise, like lahat naman tayo meron talaga tayong biases to certain extent kasi human beings are naturally have biases, 'di ba? Pero I mean, and I think that fact-checking as well, if your interest there is to be able to create a better society, then there's no problem with that. I think propaganda itself, when in isolation, can be harmful when there's malicious intent talaga. And when you decide to bypass your moral compass. Like, I have friends, like I really just have friends, personal testimony. We're not talking about dumb people here. We're not talking about stupid people. We're talking about college graduates who graduated from a university, but at the end of the day, they decided to be trolls. They decided to be cyberbullies. And I was able to confirm that because during reunion days, whenever I go to that hometown of mine, I'm always the odd one out, okay? And I'm just always the silenced one out because they're okay with it. They're okay with spreading fake news. They're okay with being called that particular sector or group, and that's okay with them. Meaning, this is not a technology problem. This is more of like a critical thinking problem. This is more of like your discernment. Because at the end of the day, even if you have all the technology, the tools, and you know that it's fake or not, if you still decide at the end of the day to reaffirm that you will believe that and you will share that, then it's your choice, okay? It becomes your choice. And at the end of the day, the decision making is yours. Our role here in Media Civics Lab and Break the Fake Movement is to make sure that you arrive at that particular decision making with full rationality and objectivity and without being forced. Okay, last question is on Rahim. We really can't deny the fact that fake. Rahim, can you speak instead? I just really want to listen to people and see their facial expressions when they speak para mas interactive. Rahim, okay. Yes, Rahim.
Okay po, so good evening. Good evening, Sir Gab and Sir JK. So, yes, we really can't deny the fact na talaga namang yung fake news as of this time is more lethal o mas nakakamatay kaysa sa COVID-19 na kumakalat ngayon. It is because parang mas marami pa atang nai-infect na mga pag-iisip, mga perspektibo itong fake news kaysa sa COVID-19. At aside from that, yes, kahit ba sabihin natin na napakaraming mga strategies or mga ways ang ginagawa ng karamihan ngayon, especially itong break the fake movement, is marami pa rin parang dinidisregard o parang ipinagpapasawalang bahala na lamang yung mga ganitong estratehiya. At parang mas they more prefer on unfiltered information, yung parang madalian na lamang na basa-basa lang tapos share at post agad. So in a more simpler way na parang hindi sila magiging annoyed or getting bored on fact checking, can we have making them maintindihan nila yung importance nitong pagko-combat natin, itong fight natin sa fake news?
Okay. I think the thing kasi rin with social media, for example, Facebook, is kung sino yung mga pina-follow natin, yung algorithm ng social media sites, nagiging, kung sino yung mga madalas natin pina-follow, sila lang din yung nakikita natin sa newsfeed natin. So, kung meron kang isang usually na maingay na, or kung marami na nagsishare ng fake news, yun din yung makikita mo paulit-ulit sa newsfeed mo, which is delikado. So, kaya naniniwala ko accountable din partly yung social media sites at pinto pagkalat ng fake news. How can we make them understand the importance of combating it? Yung iba kasi parang kailangan muna may mangyari sa kanila maging biktima. Pero as much as possible, ayaw natin mangyari yun sa kanila eh. I think in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, yung media rin while habang kinakapadi ng buong mundo yung info sa COVID-19 at inaalam kung paano talaga sa kumakasa hindi. Alam ko pinapaintindi ng maigi sa mga tao yung importance ng pinapaintindi sa mga tao kung ano yung alam ng science na ngayon ng COVID-19. Paano natin maipapaintindi na mahalaga combat yung fake news na hindi sa tuwing boring or annoying.
Yes po.
Ang suggestion ko, at least on our end sa mga individual nating capacities, i-personal level natin na ipa-realize natin sa mga kakilala natin para sa word of mouth na ipakalat natin na ito yung totoo at ito yung hindi. Gawin natin personal level yung example ng fake news. Kasi feeling ko, pag on a personal level, mas makaka-relate din sila eh. At mas maiintindihan nila yung magiging possible na effect sa kanila or magiging possible na effect sa kanila ng pagkalat ng ganung fake news or pag naniniwala sila doon. So, if at least on our end, sa mga personal natin kakayanan, kaya natin i-approach yung discussion on a personal level na makakapag-engage tayo ng as many as we can. Yun yung isang effective way na hindi siya boring and at least kahit paano malalaman mo kung ano yung papatok sa isang tao or hindi.
Okay po, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Actually, natawa din ako ng konti, no? Kasi ang naisip ko tuloy, the first thing that came into mind is hindi ka naman mag-yoga or mag put something flashy with them, di ba? Like, I don't know, organize a dance session with them. Hindi naman ganun para lang makinig sila sa'yo. I think one case example, Rahim, is why are you here? And why do you always come back in this learning session every single day, right? So, I mean, if you, as much as possible, talagang mga serious topics like this, magiging boring siya kung kung walang reason, like especially kung kung wala kang real motivation of why you're joining. Pero kung meron ka namang reason and you keep on coming back because you think that there is a bigger purpose behind this, all those petty annoyances like boring, annoying, madidismiss mo na yun eh. Kasi you look at things on a holistic level. So, I mean, it's not about putting on something flashy or gimmicky right in front of things. Kapag things at stake are your political will, democratic purpose, yung mga ganong bagay, yung future ng kids mo, I think you should not think about boring and annoying stuff. Another thing is, you have to, if kasi you guys eventually, you will be the pioneers and the leaders and the influencers in your respective communities. And when you start talking about these things, I think your ultimate worry is how are you going to get their attention, right? And that's the challenge to you. Kasi lahat ng relationships are dynamically different, right? How you engage with your mom is probably going to be different with how you engage with your neighbor. So the template is going to be different. But the point is, you have to be able to capture what's common between the two of you and find that commonality to bridge whatever thought there is that you want to actually send across. So, yun lang yung gusto kong sabihin sa'yo na do not be too gimmicky. Try to find what's common ground between the two of you at the most personal relationship level and then start from there. Okay? Do not speak crass language. Find the humanity between the two of you. Actually, parting words, Justin, kasi we don't want to be overtime and pinapaalis na ako ng restaurant. So, okay.
I believe na tayo mismo makakapag-inform at makakapag-inform tayo sa iba natin kakilala on our personal capacity. So, dapat tayo mismo maging aware maging careful sa sinishare natin, and also tayo na on our end mismo, i-fact check na rin natin yung mga nakikita natin para hindi na natin siya maikalot pa, or if may mag-share pa, i-call out natin or i-point out natin na discussion na maayos na baka fake news na yan share mo. So, ayun, I believe na kaya pa rin, hindi pa naman to helpless or hopeless case na hindi na siya masosolve. At least on our end, we'll i-try natin yung best natin para makombat yung fake news using yung techniques na na-discuss natin. So,
yes. Guys, thank you, JK, for the insightful discussion, and thank you for virtual clap, guys, for JK of GMA News. It's been like I think it's a challenge, no, right now, especially sa GMA News in the media, to really work on media right now, especially na ang daming mga challenges ng fake news. So I hope marami tayong natutunan, guys, kay JK. If you want to access his slides for your future projects sa community ninyo, you can actually access all of them, all of the slides of our speakers sa website natin. Nagsisimula lang kami mag-upload, okay? And then for tomorrow's class, our session is going to be led by your instructor, Doc Ligot. Doc Ligot is the winner of Break the Fake Hackathon 2019 and NASA Space Apps Challenge 2019. So lahat ng mga technical things about network analysis, about how to follow the digital trail of someone's fake account. Alam mo yun? See who's the person behind the social media account. Mga data-related na mga things will be handed over, will be given to us by the very man behind Data Ethics PH. Okay? So I hope that you guys are going to tune in same time, 6 p.m. tomorrow night, Wednesday. And don't forget to submit your lecture feedback in the form that I'm going to give you guys right after this session. And then also, if you guys have questions, please feel free to drop them in our official chat. You can also use the official Facebook group or send me a tweet in Twitter. Okay? So that's it for tonight. And I hope to see you guys all safe and sound. And sana makatulog tayo ng maayos ngayong gabi. And stay safe, everyone, and have a great night. Bye.
thank you.
Um, Cedric,